what I liked best, I think, is when you're skiing really good for before a tournament and you're ripping it and it's super fast and you do like your whole toe pass and it feels like perfect timing with the rope where it's just tight the whole way. It's fast and you don't, sometimes you can run 12,000 points and it feels easier than 9,000 points. And for me, that was the most fun because sometimes you get on a roll where it just felt like unbelievable skiing, super easy.
So much timing in 20 seconds from that very start of where, the transitions, keeping your hips up, keeping your arms in, and body overs, you're jumping over the rope, starting and stopping, flips, you're obviously landing sometimes half twists and you're coming front and going back into the next flip. So much can happen in those transitions, but when you're dialed in and it's all hitting and working perfect, it can almost feel effortless.
All right, welcome back to the Water Ski Podcast, episode 17. And a little backstory about this episode. I've always wanted to interview these two people since the beginning of the Water Ski Podcast. And these are Cory and Adam Pickos, legends already, even Adam, in the sport of trick skiing. However, they're both world champions, and one dear friend of mine, who I won't make names, he basically told me early on that I couldn't interview world champions right off the get-go, because he said, well, you have to learn your skills as an interviewer. And his analogy was, you don't start a Formula One podcast and interview Lewis Hamilton right away, which, he had a good point. So after 16 episodes, I decided to interview not only one, but two world champions and multiple times world champs. So this interview is my first interview with two guests at the same time. These are Adam and Cory Pickos. We recorded this a week ago, in Santa Rosa Beach, outside of Cory's house, sipping on coffee in good old-fashioned Cory and Adam style, and I'm a coffee junkie myself, so that was great. And we just went back into Cory's past as a skier and his present as a coach, and Adam's current achievements as a skier, and his early days as a skier, being coached by dad, it was interesting to hear how, for the most part, effortless that was. And Cory and Adam always struck me as having a very good coach, athlete, son, father relationship. And so what a better way to, sit down with them and interview them. A couple of interesting things. I was able to buy a third microphone for the podcast, thanks to the donations that the listeners have been sending through. Thanks again for those. These have been very encouraging. However, it's a bit of a different microphone than normal, and I didn't realize that there was a front and a back to this thing. So I figured that out after I interviewed them. So basically, you'll hear my voice a little bit in the distance because I was speaking on the back of the microphone. So when I told you that I'm a newbie at this and that I'm trying to learn as I go, this is one of those cases where I really didn't know what I was doing until I tested the microphone after interviewing. So a bit of an amateur, but I'm learning. In any case, enjoyed this interview. I think, Cory and Adam open up about their relationship, their skiing, their ski school. I think it's a very telling episode. Before we jump onto that, I just wanted to let you know that as you're listening to this, I have released a special episode of the Water Ski Podcast, which is not on the podcast. It's actually on a new water ski platform called Swerve, and you can find details on how to register and become a member and go and find my episode there on the episode notes. I thought I would help the creator of this getting a bit of momentum. So if you want to listen to this special episode, look at the notes and you'll see how to register and become member of this new platform for water skiers, and you'll be able to listen to the episode there. Until then, enjoy the interview and see you in a couple of weeks. Voila, should we start?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, well, guys, welcome to the Water Ski Podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, honored to be here.
I'm here in Santa Rosa Beach with Adam and Cory Pickos at their beautiful ski school. Actually, we can see the lake whilst we're having some coffee. Well, guys, honestly, since I started this podcast, I was envisioning doing a conversation with the two of you, you know? So I'm stoked that I get to do it, and, you know, very happy to be here, honestly. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to have you here. It's middle of January. We're sitting outside having a cup of coffee. Life's pretty good.
Florida.
Florida, exactly.
Yeah, no, doing super good. We're getting ready to get going again at ski school in February, doing some renovations of the ski school house, just the kind of normal stuff. But, everything's going great.
Yeah, the off season of a ski school owner, right? Fix this,
Exactly.
prepare for that.
Knew everything.
Exactly. Nice. And I know you guys have a big event coming up this year, so we'll definitely get to that at some point. But I really want to start with the question I start with everyone, and I would like to do it with you, Cory. How did you get into this thing, water skiing? You know?
It went all the way back to my father. We're in 3 generations of skiers now, and my father, when he was in his, I would say, middle to late 20s, he bought a boat, bought skis. Him and his buddies went out skiing. I don't know, they just loved it. Next thing, they were putting in milk jugs for slalom buoys, building wooden ramps, no helmets, crashing, skis hitting them in the head, bleeding. And my father particularly liked tricks, and they went to a national tournament and saw Ricky McCormick trick when he was young for the first time. And my father thought, oh, this is an awesome sport. That's so cool. I love it. I'm going to teach my kids. So we started young, and he's kind of was pretty old school, hardcore. If we're going to do it, we're going to be in 110%.
Yep.
And voila.
And there you go.
There you go.
Nice. Where was this?
This was in Kenosha, Wisconsin, right between Milwaukee and Chicago. And we did most of our skiing in a little burrow pit for the highway overpass. And it was big enough for about a 4-buoy slalom course. Okay. We didn't have a jump. We were very young and little at the time, so we did a lot of tricks to start with.
There you go. So a bit of short lake, a bit of young age, you know, obviously safer, you know.
Little, yeah, we were really little, so little in stature and size and weight, and the 4-buoy slalom course didn't work so good. And that was back behind, I don't know, a Hydrodyne IO boat and all that, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's just, it was a different era.
Yeah. And obviously, then and now, tricks tends to be more friendly to, you know, shorter lakes, maybe a little tougher conditions, maybe, you know, different boats. So it seems like naturally, you know, and your dad being so shocked by that, you got on the trick ski.
Yeah, no, I think it was a natural progression to start there, and it just went from there.
Okay, so one of the things I'm curious about with you is that you got really good really early. I mean, I just watched a video a few days ago. I was in the DR skiing with Robert. We were watching some of those like 80s, you know, I'm sure you, Adam, have seen those plenty of times. But like, you know, there were some trickers, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, and you show up, you're like, I don't know, you're not even an adult yet, 9,000. That's a humongous difference in super young. How did that come about?
Really, really strange. I think I just had a little bit of a freaky natural talent for it. Mm-hmm. Back then, there wasn't a lot of coaching. My father would coach and do this, you know, whatever. But really, the coaching was at a level that didn't really work. And so I would get coached by him and other people. And even from a very young age, I would do it once and I'd go, hey, this doesn't work. So I wouldn't listen. I 110% did it my way. And I don't know why or how, but it was very natural and came very easy. And I just had a passion for it, liked it. And if my father wanted me to do 10 Toecos, I'd do 20 in half the time. So I don't know. It's just
okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So like, you know, I don't want to say prove people wrong, but almost like, you know, do double the work and really passionate about it, and some thirst for being good, I'm assuming, as well.
Yeah, exactly. And at the time, it really came easy, and I was like, I don't know, this isn't that hard. Why are these old guys all so bad? You know what I mean? So it started really early, like, what's going on here?
Okay, and so clearly you got to a point very quickly where you were good. Who then started chasing you?
Really, it was, I skied with Sammy Duvall, Dennis Hammondtree, my brother, all that. And that was up until about 13. But from 14 on, it was always Patrice Martin.
Oh,
and
wow.
he was super, super fantastic. And he was a huge rival. And we pushed each other. And as good as I was, he would be better than I would be better. And so the whole way, it was really good for both of us, but it really pushed us along.
Nice. Yeah, because I can also see that moment where, you know, I don't want to say you stay in your own bubble, because obviously US was, you know, probably still is the biggest country in the world for skiing, but then maybe you venture out to a Worlds or to some other event where international people come in and you see that one guy that, you know, is battling now, you know? How did you feel about that? Were you excited? Were you like, hey, who is this guy?
Yeah, I went to my first world tournament at 13, and it actually was in Milan, Italy.
Oh, there you go.
In 77. And I met Patrice there for the first time, and I was skiing in the event, and he wasn't, but we met each other, and they said, this guy is super, super good. And, yeah, kind of went from there.
So they said that about you, or you heard about him?
I was skiing in the tournament. They said that about Patrice. So
okay.
I didn't know. I just knew there was this Frenchman that was supposed to be very good.
Okay. And give me just a little bit of stats, because, you know, your career is insane, but like, give me how many worlds, how many, you know.
I won 2 world championships. I took 2 seconds, 2 thirds, I believe, if memory serves me right. It was a little bit more of a difficult tournament for me, just because I think it was international every 2 years, try too hard, just one of those things. I could have easily won 4, where it just, the little last trick was just stuff like that. I really should have won 4 pretty easily. It ended up 2, so I had the 2 seconds. But I won 10 U.S. Masters, 10 U.S. Opens, and broke 24 world records. So, and I won Moon, and I won all the events, but those are the majors.
That's pretty good numbers, man. Oh my god.
Thanks.
Oh my god. And then, you know, eventually you influenced Adam, and we have Adam here, who is also a 2-time world champion and you know, one of the sensations of the sport. I'm curious to hear, you know, the how you get into skiing question will be, well, through dad, right?
Absolutely.
But how was that? You know, like growing up knowing that your dad is a 10 times Masters champion and 2-time world champion, you know, like, what do you remember your early days of skiing?
He'll probably have to chime in a little bit, but I remember it was a little bit tough when I was young starting. We hear a lot of stories. I was the kid screaming up and down the lake, wanted nothing to do with it. I wanted to go be with friends, do my own thing. Sorry, kind of kept me on that path. But really, I think my first tournament was 7. First nationals was 9, and growing up with my dad as a coach and a father, just 100% normal. I think I had in the back of my head that he's been this successful. He's right, whether I want to give him that at the time or not.
Right.
It's just, that's the way it is. And we've always had a really good relationship that way, where we can talk, we can get in arguments, we can give both of our thoughts, and sometimes it's 3 days or a week, and we'll both come back and go, okay, I think we're both on the same page. We just we
Right.
told each other the wrong way, and we kind of work through it that way. So really, it's been the best thing that's ever happened, because anytime I've ever had to leave home going to Monroe or trying to, you know, thinking, oh, maybe I should go get some other coach or anything, that was never the case. It was always home on the lakes with the coaching and the atmosphere environment was the best thing for me.
Nice. Where, see, like, I've asked this to other guests, but like, especially given, the upbringing, obviously you grew up here, so like not only your dad, but you were surrounded by great skiers all the time. When did something click for you that you're like, okay, I'm getting good at this?
I think, at least from my memory, I remember pretty clearly it was, I didn't do a nationals before 9, right? My last nationals.
Yeah, that's right.
So I skied, and it was kind of, I wasn't quite at the level where we wanted to go. If we wanted to go, we wanted to win, or we wanted to be in that podium conversation. So it was my very last nationals in Bakersfield, California, and got the thumbs up from Dad. We flew out. I ended up taking first in tricks, and I broke the national record, right?
Yep.
Wow.
So it was awesome. Then I think that's a lot of friends and tournaments, and we're traveling, and I remember swinging through McDonald's and visiting grandparents' house down in Winter Haven, stopping for tournaments, and it just became a little bit of an identity for me. And of course, the winning becomes, you kind of enjoy. You go see different friends, and you compete, and it just became a lifestyle.
Yeah, and obviously nationals, like the U.S. Nationals, is a very peculiar tournament, right? So you have nearing 1,000 skiers there. You might have, I'm assuming, that random kid that you might have not heard before that shows up and is good, and we all know in a year how better you can become, so you're going with the thumbs up from that, but also like with the uncertainty, and then you bring it home. I can see how that at a U.S. national can really leave a mark,
Mm-hmm. And yeah, sorry.
No, there you go. Like, there's no structure to this, man. Yeah. We talk as we please.
But going, and that being at the time, my biggest, I've skied in Southern Regionals, but that was my biggest tournament as a kid. And now coaching a lot, I can see through my dad's eyes a little bit of, you have no idea what's in a young person's brain, how they're going to treat that first bigger tournament, how they're going to react to the pressure. So yeah, flying all the way out to California and then diving in, it was kind of a lot of experience, and luckily it went as good as possible, and the rest is history.
Stood up the run,
yeah.
Everything in time.
Exactly.
It worked. Nice. And like, this is something I wanna ask you guys, because one of the things we know that is probably the hardest, most productive thing in an athlete's life is the relationship with their coach, right? And then obviously, you have a coach-athlete relationship and a father-son relationship, and more often than not, let's face it doesn't work, right? And you guys have managed to make it work very successfully. And I'm curious from any of you, like, and both of you actually, like, how have you made it work? Like, both as a coach and as an athlete.
I think I knew it was an adventure, so it's not a short-term thing. So I knew if it was going to work in the long run, I thought it's better to be steady and patient and not make it miserable or torture or anything. Adam knew expectations. I had expectations. And so I think, and I'm pretty calm on that end anyways. I'm not a temper tantrum or an angry guy or a freak out guy. So it's just little by little, keep on it, stay on.
Right.
Of course, you expect a lot and you push a lot and you want 110%. But
the 20 toes, right?
Yeah, for sure. But and then we kind of set it up where we ended up going 10 months a year, December, January off, 6 days a week, take Sunday off. Of course, it would vary, but over time, if you work at it the right way, you've got a great chance of success. The only other thing you don't know is what quality of athlete do you have? Do you have a top 10 in the world? Do you have a top 20? Do you have a top 25? So I had no idea, but I would talk with Adam and go, well, maybe if we win one world championship at any level, junior, what, I don't know, but maybe that's a goal. And the other long-term goal was maybe we can be top 10 in the world. So if we can reach that, maybe you can be a 3 guy, a 5 guy. We don't know what you are. Everybody's different. So that was kind of the approach from the beginning.
Right. Sort of like, let's take it step by step. Let's put effort, but let's see where it goes. Now, not to sound, like, but those are pretty high standards, like top 10 in the world we see. And obviously coming for you where you had won a few and you've been at the top of the game, was that ever pressure for you growing up, or?
There definitely was a pressure, a little bit of a monkey on your back. It was never, he's always been one of the most patient people in my life that I've ever known. And there were, we talk a lot about the highlights, but there were tournaments where I had half of my tricks taken. I'd go, I forgot my run. I did 6, 8, 10 toe back-to-backs, and it just, that kept coming out. This is a marathon. It's a long-term sport. Relax. Jumping against guys like Zach Warden and, Boys 2 or whatever, getting beat by 50, 60 feet. Right. It's like, just be patient. We're going to get there. And then when I got a little better and started skiing a few of the pro tournaments, there were guys younger than me winning titles, and I remember that looking and going, am I doing something wrong? What's going on here? And obviously Dad was super successful, kind of had that mind and that just aggressive way of skiing, and it clicked. And then 2015 won my first world title, jumping a little forward here, but I just remember that was just incredible. I felt like a monkey was off my back, almost a monkey that I didn't even realize was there. I kind of knew it was there, but it was just skiing. But for me, for the team, for all the time we've spent, for all the money and traveling and passion, right. I mean, I grew up in between two lakes, and so that was sweet.
Right.
Adventure.
And you grew up in between, I guess what would be Lake 1 and Lake 2 here. Lake 2 generally slalom. Lake 1, some slalom, but maybe trick and jump primarily. And you were drawn into the tricks. Now, granted, the genetics were pretty solid, but was it like a given, or did you find the passion there more? What happened there?
I would say it's more a genetic makeup body build.
Okay.
So Adam was actually #1 in the world standings list in overall his last year at juniors. So his level in all three were really good, but definitely trending way up in tricks. And slalom we would always be around, but be around could be top 5 or 6 or 7. And then jumping, we jump for overall, not necessarily to compete to win jumping. And yeah, so I think it just trended towards tricks, and his body type, that was what made most sense.
Okay.
And you tend to fall what you're good at, and I've always had just a little better feeling. People always ask about like nerves in tournaments. You get those butterflies, but I'm pretty set on the dock and calm in sense of knowing what to do. Where slalom, I get those anxious butterflies of this isn't my natural tendency, or I have a little less control in slalom per se. For tricks, I can visualize, I can see, I know, halfway through my toe run, if something's going on, I know how to get in and out. Versus slalom, I'm still learning every set.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense, and I can resonate with that. I mean, I used to do overall till after college, and I had the opposite experience. Like in slalom, I would see the competition, but I knew sort of like where I stood and what I could leverage on. In tricks, it was like, I was nervous because I had much less control, right? That's a fair point. And then obviously that continues to loop, right? So you have a tournament in tricks, you're not nervous, you most likely are going to do better. And then the next tournament is going to continue that way. But as slalom, maybe you have one incident, and then,
Yeah, and growing up, slalom is just generally harder on my body. I would trick 2-3 times this one slalom. I'd slalom 5 days a week, and my back would hurt and my shoulders, and I'm going, I don't know, I'm only like 15 years old, and this seems crazy. I'd have to take off time of tricks because I was slaloming a little more and my back was hurting so bad, and I'm going, I think tricks is good. I don't go as fast, like falls are a little easier. I have a better feeling for what's going on.
But what I love is that you still enjoy slalom. I mean, I remember when I was here when you ran your first 39 behind Keith. I mean, the smile was exactly what you're showing now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That it's still, I don't know. Maybe that goes back to the control thing. I can trick 100 times, then I can have that one. It seems like a perfect slalom set to me, and the joy is just the same, if not more.
yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Do you miss jump at all?
I
No?
don't. I
You
don't
don't?
actually. I never had the right personality and the drive for it. I was always a very safe jumper, and I jumped, I think, 45, 46 meters in tournament, 140, just under 150 feet. And that was a good spot, but every time I turned and cut towards the ramp, it was not a sense of like an adrenaline rush. It was land on your skis.
Yeah, right.
Just kind of scared, honestly, and I enjoyed cutting and passing. I didn't want to take that chance. I just liked being on the water and safe and sound, and so I jumped through college. I left to college, and I think I got a text, and my dad just said, "Hey, I sold your jump skis." I was like, "Great, actually,
All right.
that doesn't bug me at all. I'm
All
good."
right. Can I get a cut of it, or?
Yeah. It was really the end of under 17. So then the ramp goes to 6 foot.
Yeah.
And the speed goes to 35. And if you're going to compete in overall, now you got to jump 200 feet. And for me, every time Adam jumped, it's just such a stress because I think we're both more in control kind of people. And it wasn't worth an injury for the other events, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And at the same time, Kiwi just had his accident.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. This is crazy.
Right.
So I didn't want to go 6 foot 35, so I sold his jump skis and said, I sold you jump skis.
You can have the money.
Yeah, you can have the money.
Oh, okay. That was nice. That was nice.
Yeah, that was the
nice.
bridge, I
That's
guess.
Good.
But I also knew Adam would be, I thought he would be fine with it. So.
Right. Yeah, I had a similar story because my last jump set on my own skis was like collegiate all-stars. And then I went in front of the webcast and I said, hey, I'm done with this thing. I'm selling them. And 3 days later, someone from Wisconsin said, hey, I'll take them. And I was so happy, like I'm done. Because I might have jumped a little further, but I had the same feelings that you were having. You know, sort of like, okay, I'm later than I know. Yeah. Hopefully I'll land. You know, like it's never like the right, like go after it.
No.
You know?
Yeah. And you get comfortable and confident, and that's when you have that one where maybe you don't crash some, but it's a little out of control, and you go, okay, that was a little else too much. Yeah,
exactly. That's when you know you're not a jumper, where like your furthest jump is the first one by accident, and you back it off. You know, that's how it was.
Yeah, exactly.
And jumping is so extreme that if you don't have the mentality for jumping, I think you're just fighting yourself. So then I think it's super hard to succeed. So if you're mentally not a jumper, tricks and slalom are different. You know, it's not as dangerous. But if you're mentally not a jumper, and personality-wise, I think it's very hard.
And I think even more so, it becomes even more dangerous for people who take it with that sort of approach rather than, you know, sort of like commit to it, you know?
Right, yeah, no, it's much safer to commit 110% than,
Right. And it's funny, like you obviously remember Bubo Alessi, who coached in our national team for a while. It was so hard for him to understand why people weren't like that. You know, like you're like, dude, you cut, you go as late as you can, and you commit, you're gonna make it. And a lot of us were like, well, I don't know, man. Like I don't know that I can do that. But then those that can generally tend to be the good jumpers.
Yeah, you watch the pro jumpers now, and it looks like a walk in the park. They don't look stressed. They're holding their skis. The decision to cut, pass, take it just a normal conversation for them. But yeah, I never had that.
And Adam grew up with Timmy Bradstreet and Zach Ward, and these guys would turn later and later and just jump and go, and it's like, no, this is crazy.
Yeah, understandable. Cory, did you did you slalom or jump? Like, what was that for you, like overall stuff?
I did a little bit, and I did it through kind of what we would call juniors, not even under 17, more 13, 14. But at 13, I broke the world record for the first time. So
in tricks.
At
13.
At 13. So I was way too good in tricks to spend time in slalom and jump, and I didn't have the coaching, and we're in Wisconsin. We had a super short season. So the whole thing just didn't work out, and so my father really went to 6 trick sets a day. So he would go to work, and I would have to do 4 before he came home, and then he would watch 2 sets, and he would watch the hour meter and the gas to make sure I skied 6 times a day.
Dude.
So it's kind of a little bit old school.
You would tell me you can ski or dig ditches.
That's slightly old school, no?
Slightly old school, and I had a choice. If you're skiing, that's fine. If you're not skiing, you're going to work with me. So I'm like, skiing, work? I think I'll ski.
Yeah, I think I'll ski. Did you ever take the boat out for a spin just to burn some gas and put some hours on? Or?
No, because I was too young and I wasn't smart enough.
Makes sense. Yeah. Makes sense. So yeah, basically from even 14, stuff like that, just tricks.
That day I just went straight to tricks. And really, I was really small. So, if you're a bigger kid in slalom and juniors and stuff, but I was very thin and 0% body fat and just, super light. So, but tricks came so natural. Back then, everybody was really focused more on overall skiing and stuff, but it just didn't
bother you. Yeah.
No, just.
Okay. Oh, sweet.
And you got to see but the old school skis with the binding. I don't even know if you can call it a binding. We have I have a couple in the shop down at ski school, and it's just as the flattest. Is it a saucer?
Yeah, I've got it. I tricked seven. The first time I broke the world record was 69.90. I tricked like 7,050 that year. But I'm telling you, it's a saucier. It's 8 or 9 inches wide. The sides are perfectly flat, no bevel anything. And my binding was a heel piece and a toe piece, open with no wraps.
The HO or whatever combo skis that you slide in and out would have had more support.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't move, but there was no wraps or anything. And how I tricked 7,000 points on a ski like that, I have no idea.
Yeah, I bet. Did you ever take it back, like maybe, I don't know, 5 years ago for a rip? And
No, I never have, but it's 36 inches and like 8 inches tiny.
So, because obviously you broke the world record several times, what was the highest score you did without a ski line?
I don't even know. I think I tricked 10,000 points, I think without flips. But I think at that point I was doing toe steps, but not body overs.
Okay. Because I saw some old ESPN video, I can't even remember what the tournament is called, and you tricked well over 9, but it was all like, wake lines, hands, and, like toes was already like toe wake line 5, like massive, 4 feet high, but like, hands was like wake lines and a bunch of 7s and 5s and
so many line tricks, so many rotation tricks, and at that point tricking really went through a few big changes. But if it would have stayed the super traditional trick skiing that I learned, it would have been really hard, much harder to beat me than the transition. The toe steps were great, but then body overs and then flips, and every time they did that, it was fewer tricks, more aggressive, less rotation, quick stuff. So every time they added all of that, it seemed like it pulled the competition closer to me. And does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
And it's just, I grew up with the traditional skiing. I didn't learn my first flip until I was like 20 or 21.
Right.
So,
because probably they weren't around, I'm guessing.
Yeah, nobody was doing them.
Right. What, like obviously, so you had to go through a transition. Like now there's flips, now there's body overs. Like, did you struggle with that, or were you able to do it?
Not really the body overs. I picked all that up really pretty fast. The flips were completely different, and I didn't grow up with it, and I didn't grow up with gymnastics. But at that time, it was progressing slow enough where, for me, I could learn a flip a year kind of thing and stay right with it. But I wasn't the best at flipping. But I was better at rotations and toes and quicker and great body overs or whatever. So yeah, it kept me competitive.
Yeah. So you had that sort of like the gap was so big that like people were catching up, but you were able to implement maybe one flip a year or so and then stay up
and stay ahead, really.
Yeah, that's cool. What was, I'm gonna ask these to both of you guys, what was the trick that you struggled the most to learn? Relative to you, because obviously
I kind of think probably my first flip in reverse, just because there was no coaching, nobody knew anything, And you'd see some people do them pretty easy,
Right.
a handful of people. But it was just kind of like going in the backyard in a lake and just throwing them until you figured something out. You could just as easily learn it totally wrong as right.
Right. And what was it frustrating? Was how do
Yeah,
you
it's an unknown.
right.
So you don't know, it's something you have to learn and get in a run pretty quick because you don't want to get behind, but it's also new.
Right.
And for me, more recently, was front flip. I grew up my whole career really good at visualizing tricks. I almost think I could limit the falls by really putting in my head and thinking about how I want to attack this. And front flip took over 2 years for me.
Yeah,
I flopped and flopped and fell, and I was ready to just quit everything.
Give it
I was
up.
ready to learn ski line 5,000 if I had to not do
Right.
front flip.
Yeah, because I remember you implemented like your front, like the front flip a little later on in your skiing career.
And you would, obviously thanks to ski school, I would sit in the boat all day long, and people that have tricked 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 points would go out and boom, perfect front flip. I'm going, well, there's no way I can trick over 10,000 points. And I'd study video and I'd watch myself. But that basic idea of just rolling forward, was, I don't know, it was just so foreign and almost too simple. It would either be a backflip or a spin. But yeah, so that was a 2.5 year project of just almost 3 or more every single set, just over and over again, fighting, arguing about ideas and should we learn toe side or heel side, or you can't learn toe side because it doesn't fit in your run, so we got to learn heel side. That's just you have to have it.
Right.
But now every fall makes a difference. I feel like I can do front flip with my eyes closed.
Yeah, now
it.
he has the best front flip in the world, but it just takes time.
Right.
But Adam is a little bit of a thinker too, so it might take a little longer to learn it, but once he learns it, he'll learn it and he'll do it really good.
Right.
So,
But what was it like? Was it like, because it's a very strange rotation, the rule is pretty strict as of where the ski needs to be. Were you sort of like at first doing them but they weren't front flips, or just the fact of going forward wasn't really?
Go ahead.
well,
Watched.
a lot of people were doing the inside the line front flip that I always thought from day one, inside the arm where they roll and all that. It really wasn't credit, you know what I mean? And
Right.
how credit it was pretty credit, not credit. And I was like, I don't want to go into tournaments when you need it most. They're going to take it, and so we're going to learn a perfect straight front flip because there's people doing them. I think the thing was the timing, the work, the break free enough to complete the trick without getting pulled out, and it's a blind trick. And but once you got to feel for it, it just all came together.
Every other flip, you're taking that ski behind you. And this was the first flip. You're kind of rocking heel to toe and taking everything towards the boat, and breaking that habit, I guess, was just super hard. We everything from boat speeds to I was wearing jumpsuits at one point. I mean, everything. Try to just turn off your mind. Just don't think about it.
Yeah, and I think obviously, what do I know? But like, it seems like it might be even harder because at the time you were probably doing 6 backflips in your run. You had another 2 or 3 that you could have implemented, always with that same initial motion. So this is completely different, right? Completely different from like a Mob 5 even,
Yeah, and what got him over the hump was he started breaking free and doing nice front flips, but like you said, it was such a completely different movement than all the other stuff that I think instinctively it's real easy to move the wrong way. So I told him, okay, let's simplify this. The wake's killing you, the timing's killing you, the boat pulling in, you're loading early, you're loading late, it's all that. I said, all I want you to do is pull out alongside the boat in the flats and do a no-wake front flip. And he started doing them out in the flats, absolutely perfect. Took it to the wake, never had a problem since.
Probably seen Jason McClintock's. He does a beautiful one. And so it was literally just that same idea. Went out and just boom, and all of a sudden I was breaking free, getting all the way around. I'd go back on the wake, it'd be all like crazy again. I'd go back, and I think we even tried it one wake for a little while, and that pull was good. And then, but yeah, that no wake was wild. And
it
worked.
And good old fashioned 80s, because like back then you guys were doing flips on one wake, right? So
yep.
back to front backflip into the wakes to a 7 front to front. Those crazy things. What was the celebration when you landed the first one? I mean,
yeah, I pure celebration, but I think it was, I hope that wasn't luck. I gotta do a second one to make sure we're good.
Gotta back it up.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
tricker mentality, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming you started doing it on the wakes, and then the conversation of like, are we ready for the run? Absolutely not. So now try sequences,
Yep.
and
And it's one of those flips where I never did it at the end, right?
No, I think you always did it after ski line back to back
Yeah.
in the middle.
So it's one of those flips too. The transition where it worked was kind of that first flip. So it wasn't a question of, hey, this is a 50-50 or a 70-30. It needed to be pretty solid. And I mean, there's still times it's still a difficult flip where you're still always learning a little bit and getting into situations. But yeah, that was incredible. After 2.5 years, after that, I said, okay, I can learn anything. I can do it. I may not love it. It may take a lot of time, but in my head, I'm going, I have to accept this. Dad was right again.
That was right again.
Yeah.
So let's flip the coin. What is your favorite trick? And it doesn't have to be a massive trick, like the trick that you absolutely love to do.
I think I kind of like toe wake line 5. I like 7 front to front, but it was so hard to make consistent. But a great feeling when you get done. I even did a lot of 9 back to fronts, past the handle the whole way.
Twice.
And that was a lot of fun. But I liked all of them. What I liked best, I think, is when you're skiing really good before a tournament and you're ripping it and it's super fast and you do like your whole toe pass and it feels like perfect timing with the rope where it's just tight the whole way, it's fast, and you don't, sometimes you can run 12,000 points and it feels easier than 9,000 points. And for me, that was the most fun, because sometimes you get on a roll where it just felt like unbelievable skiing, super easy.
Interesting. Like, and I see how Adam is nodding. Like when you said that the 12 can feel easier than the 9, which to me is like absolutely impossible to understand. Chime in, Adam. What does it mean? Like,
it kind of. It means when everything's in line, everything's clicking, everything's working. You've probably heard a lot of trickers say, especially the start of your first pass, and toes, especially for us, is getting in that rhythm. That very first trick is from when we push off, for me, is toe 7. I every side slide, every 90 degrees, 180, I'm clicking in, and sometimes it does feel effort. You hit every spot, you're light on the water, and by the end, going, oh, that was it. And then sometimes you can do a toe pass where 20 seconds feels like 2 minutes, and you're fighting and you never have the rope when you need it, and you're getting pulled down the lake, and you feel out of control. So it's sort of like maybe not even that trick specifically, although I'll be curious to hear yours if you have it, but like sort of that feeling that the run clicks, right?
Yeah, like Adam said, so much rhythm and timing, and moving with the boat, working with the boat, advancing enough but not too much, but landing and picking up, and just always moving with the boat where it feels like it's almost a tight line the whole way, but you're doing all these magical things throughout the run.
Yeah,
so much timing in 20 seconds from that very start of where the transitions, keeping your hips up, keeping your arms in, and body overs, you're jumping over the rope, starting and stopping, flips, you're obviously landing, sometimes half twists, and you're coming front and going back into the next flip. So much can happen in those transitions, but when you're dialed in and it's all hitting and working perfect, it can almost feel effortless.
Yeah, like a sort of one trick follows the next naturally. Yeah,
exactly.
So your trick?
My trick would be toe wake line 5, absolutely.
That's
and
a
then
staple.
That's
Pickos, just as the Pickos trick,
so cool and big, and when you do it, you feel good. You can spot your landing, and when you land solid, it's just a great one. And that's generally the last trick of the toe pass. So you've done something right if you're hitting that. Yeah. And then it's probably because front flips took me so long, but my toe heel side front flip, but really my toe side front flip, I think is one of the coolest flips, and everyone's got their own little unique flair to it, but I just love that feeling, and it is kind of supernatural to me now it is. So you learned hillside front flip first. What about
toe side, did that take a long time, or what was it?
After learning the heel side and going through all of that, it
Learned it really pretty fast.
really quick. Yeah, maybe a couple weeks.
Oh, wow.
I had the idea of what, where to load, what arms to load, what direction to throw, and it felt very natural, just kind of a mirror image of it.
Nice.
And I've always, obviously, I followed my dad's with toes, and so I love toes, everything, but reverse half twist, landing the reverse back has always been one of my favorites. That came really natural and quick to me, and landing that reverse back and looking back, and it's kind of a sticky, solid landing.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's cool. Nice. Okay, because continuing on this question for the both of you guys, the tournament you remember with the most pleasure, the one that you think back, you're like, wow, that was great.
I think probably 81 in London when I won my first world championship, because I think when you win a worlds, it's like, been there, the pinnacle of the sport, the world's the biggest tournament. So I feel like if you can win a world championship, that's one of those great things you can't take away, and it's at a little bit higher level than even the Masters or the US Open was.
Give us the story. What was the format? Still prelim final?
Yeah, it was 2 rounds added together.
Added together.
It was added together, yeah. So I wanted to get a big lead. It was Patrice against myself. I had a small lead, and I went out last. It was televised. I was standing on the dock to go out in the finals. The television guy had the camera right on my chest and my face, following me around. And I was young, and I'm like, kind of move away. Patrice went out and stood it up, came back, father jumping in the boat, Patrice jumping, the whole thing. And I promise you, they had 30 or 40 Frenchmen just completely surround and on the dock, and Patou. So I'm standing around with a million Frenchmen screaming on the dock and around. So it was all set up to put pressure on me.
Right.
So I was so nervous, I was just freaking out. I said, well, the only way I can handle this is to go for it on both passes and just go, because I didn't think with the nerves. At that time, I remember, I'm kind of a little too nervous to be safe or whatever. I just felt like the safest way for me was to really go for it.
All out.
Just go out, and I pretty much went all out. I think I tied the world record, and I think it was 99.40 at that point. And I remember doing a 7 back-to-back, and I threw the handle, and I didn't have a hand on either, on the handle or the rope, and it caught it in the air, landed, and kept going. It's, one of those moments you go like, whoa.
Still there.
Okay, keep going.
What do they call them? Osmosis now in wakeboarding, right? I think it's part of they do a spin, and well, that wasn't intentional. Let's put it that way. Who was spinning for you?
I think my father was at that point. I'm sure it was.
Even better.
Yeah.
Even better.
Yeah.
And you won the Worlds. What happened the first hour afterwards, the first week?
I was young. I think it's just happy. It's one of those things, you're driving down the road and you're smiling for 3 weeks and you don't know why.
Right.
You're just...
Right.
And I think stuff like that too, it kind of builds. There's stress at first and you're really happy and it's kind of crazy, but I think over time you enjoy it more for those first 2-3 weeks.
It grows, every single day gets better.
Single day
up until a month before the next Worlds, 2 years later, then you start going, okay, I gotta think about this. But no, it's fantastic.
Well, and you know something about it because you won 2 in a row, right? So which one was the best?
The first one. First one, Guadalajara, Mexico, 2015. Wow, yeah, that's also one where we knew we were in the mix, but didn't quite have the score, and you're super hopeful, but you're okay with that podium kind of thing. Prelims, I think
Yeah, let
that's
me
all
tell a
blur.
quick story. So we did prelims, and then we went into finals. Adam was second seed. Alexei was last out. And in Chapala, they had their little restaurant area with the television. Everybody was pretty near the dock watching it, and then the rest of the people were down in the middle of the course. So I was going back and forth watching every skier to try to get a feel of what it was going to take to win.
I know that walk. By the
Yeah,
way.
so back and forth and looking and looking, and I got so lucky because the judges got behind, and the new rule was catch up before the next athlete. You know how they, and so.
No, what do you mean?
Well, they, I think it must have been Settlemyre. They had a problem, and they were doing a score. I don't know, but anyways, they went.
You need
to
the skier's score before you leave the dock.
Oh,
so
whatever,
I knew
okay.
I had to know the score to beat
Okay.
before I left the dock.
But anyways, there was a 3 to 5 minute wait before Adam went.
Yeah.
So then I hopped in the boat when they did the pass up and back, the simulation pass. And in the simulation pass, I heard everybody's score. So I knew Settlemyre tricked something like 11,190 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And Adam had his front flip, which was new in the hand pass. And he had a harder toe pass and an easier toe pass because we were just in between moving up with harder runs. But at that point, they're more difficult.
Yeah.
So your percentage of killing it and being in time is less. So before I got left the dock, I told Adam, okay, let's do easy toe pass, let's do front flip, let's do hard hand pass. And so we came back, and I didn't have time to tell Adam scores or anything. So he did the easy toe pass at the end. I said, I know Settlemyre's score. I don't think we try to beat Alexei straight up because he's got too many points. Let's move into first place now, which could possibly be second. Let's do the easy hand pass and see if we can just go 11,220. So I said, are you good with that? He said, yeah, just tell me what to do.
Literally changing my ski, sitting on the platform, and he's like telling me all this. He's like, you good with that? As if I was going to say anything. I'm just like,
dude, I mean,
I'm all in. Let's do
my heart
it.
rate is 220, man.
I don't have
sure.
a chance to think about all this.
It's like, just tell me what to do. Okay, that's what I think we should do. Let's do it.
But so hold on, like you're in the boat, like you decided to go in the boat for the simulation pass, leaving your athlete on the dock?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. And
Ballsy choice.
Javi and Al was there, but I figured it's nice to be. I just wanted to get in the boat, and
so it's good to see the wakes and the table and make sure everything's good. Is the cameraman sitting? How much gas? You
even it out. Yeah, I just kind of it's good
so
to
you were
know.
cool with that?
Yeah. At the time, I was dialed. Well, I don't remember the timing exactly, but speaking of when you were saying how stressed out you were in 81 or whatever, down in Guadalajara, there's a lot of, I think it's like mineral sediments, so the water's super slippery.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of us are wearing gloves and we're taping our feet, and so I have my foot taped and I have gloves on. I go to he's doing the simulation pass, and I go to just kind of like walk through, put my binding on. I realized I taped the wrong foot. And it was honestly why I think I was able to snap out of it and ski so well, because I didn't even realize how nervous I was. And so then it turned into like a partial laugh, really stressed out, and I was just scissors, tape, and so we're cutting and ripping stuff off my foot, and I'm taping my other foot, and I didn't even have time to think or anything. So the whole time he's gone doing that, I'm retaping the correct foot and getting my life together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you had something to do.
Yeah. And we always kind of have a team there. I've skied with Javi for 20 years, and my friend Al from England and stuff, and so I always have 3-4 people kind of block and hang around, and
that's cool.
And they know, if people are getting in your space or whatever, to kind of watch the athlete.
See, and I think that's well, I'll save this thought. Let's continue. So what did you end up scoring?
11,220, I think.
11,220, I think it was. And we got back to the dock, and someone had a microphone, a walkie-talkie, and we watched Alexei. He went down, and they'd called my score, and I had just moved just ahead of Settlemeyer. I think he
Yep.
was, I don't know, under 100 points or whatever. So I was sitting in second, watched Lexa go out. He went down, and you're still waiting for it to be official and true. There was
and
just
everybody
shock.
screamed because we have so many friends and all the Mexicans, and they're whoa,
Yep.
and somebody came to me, oh, you're so rude, and you cheered, and when he went down, I'm like, I didn't say a word. That was everybody else, and believe me, I'm not counting any win until we win, until everything pink sheets come back. And Alexei's so good, I'm not really sure whether the last trick or two was enough or not.
Right.
So it's
But
not,
then everybody's like, you won, and you're like, you want to think you won, but you don't want to think you won until
Yeah, you've been to enough trick tournaments to know.
exactly.
But it was incredible. The amount of people that came down. Congratulations. We had tequila shots because there was a
we
little
had
restaurant bar.
tequila shots right there.
The worst thing after elevation, you go ski, athlete. I tequila shot, my throat burned for 30 minutes after. But that was a terrible idea. But we went back. We were staying with friends. Right in Chapala, and we had a mariachi band.
We had a friend 10-piece mariachi band. We had a party at the house. Dave Good was there. A lot of people. Chris LaPointe, just a lot of people from the U.S. team, just friends.
Yeah.
People that weren't skiing in the finals on Sunday, but we had fun.
Yeah.
Right.
And back to it getting better that first night where we had the mariachi at the band. I was so exhausted from all the nerves and the stress and the talk and everything all day. I left the party at 9 o'clock. I was like, I'm out. I got to go. And then that's where I think, we kind of figured out that, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, 6 months later, we're joking. And when's the world champion skiing today? It's like, yeah. Me, I got that.
You know what I find amazing, like especially because I asked you before, and maybe we'll delve in a little bit more, but you both talked about this tournament as we.
That's interesting.
It is,
Isn't that crazy?
I
Like
didn't
you
even
said,
catch
we
that.
like we were on the dock. We knew the score. We had to do this.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Psychologist?
Maybe, maybe a little bit.
That's good.
No, but I think going back to the fact that you guys managed to make it work as being parent and son and coach and athlete. I mean, that's probably why it works.
Yep.
You see it as a joint venture. You know?
Yeah.
No, it's so true. And someone's told me it takes, at that level, for things to work out, it takes equilibrium. And that's from environment, home, your performance. So everything plays a factor in your performance at that time and level. And I think equilibrium is true. You're in a really good place, full trust in coach and skier, and you have your game plan, and you can attack it confidently. And that's what you're there to do. There's no other things in your head. You're not trying to do anything else, and that's when you're your best.
Absolutely.
So and I like how you say you always have a group of people. Maybe it's good time to give some shout outs, it's beyond the two of you, the we, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who else has been key in this journey?
Javi and Al, there's been so many, I don't even know if and it seems like every 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 years it changes too. How you have that cycle of people that and staff and people that have been around a lot.
Yeah.
And you're really comfortable with and spend a lot of time, obviously, thanks to the ski school, a lot of the same skiers in and out, and it becomes a big family.
Yeah. It's always
That's
clear
the
when
key.
you see, the Pickos guys showing up at the tournament. I love it. It's a good tight group of people. You care about the 2,000 point tricker that came to ski with you a month ago nearly as much as the 11,000 point tricker, and I think it speaks a lot about what you guys do here.
Yep.
Maybe anyone, Adam, that apart obviously from that you may think you had an influence on you at some point in your
Well, I remember growing up, and I'm trying to think of who, me and Martin have skied together forever, Martin Coleman.
Yep.
And we push each other. I remember every finals of the Masters, Worlds, etc., back and forth. I always grew up with kind of an older crowd I remember skiing against Jason McClintock's and Pipe and guys here that are always pushing, and so you're kind of watching, and competing, and you see your good friends off the water, on the water. You're going, okay, what are they doing here? How can I, So it's just an evolution. People are kind of coming and going, but you're always picking up. You're always competing. You always have that one person that's pushing you, getting you, forcing you to be a little bit better.
Yeah. So like kind of those people pushing you. Anyone that you looked up to?
My dad, honestly, from the most part. Yeah.
But even in the early days, I was still skiing. You were skiing. Javi was skiing. Coleman was skiing. Pipe was skiing. I don't know, a million other people. And it was such a good environment of everybody getting along, but everybody's pushing everybody, but it's competitive, but everybody wants to win. So we're definitely a fantastic environment.
Yeah. Yeah, so it almost becomes hard to point one, like
yeah, no, and people come and they might come for 3 months or whatever but all those people all along, because everybody does something really good or not as good, or you know what I mean. So
yeah.
And all those people always have opinions, and they always say something, and it doesn't matter who it is. It could be the least likely person you would think would come up with something that's really brilliant or good.
Yeah.
But it seems like it always happens.
I agree.
So nobody knows it all, and for sure I don't. And that's why I really like to hear and listen and a different point of view or something. And Tanguy Benet was here a lot too.
Right.
So, I would watch. Tanguy would hop in the boat, Javi would hop in the boat, Martin would hop, whoever. And so it didn't get stale either.
Yeah, so basically it sounds that both for you, Adam, as a skier, and you as a coach, right, that you were surrounded by colleagues or competitors. Like you always had like an opportunity to learn, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so true. Growing up, that kind of sparked skiing. I remember my skiing was always fairly first, but then it was always all right, Cory, you got to get out, you got to ski. And then Javi would ski, and it would just kind of go down the line. And you just, for me, watching it was, okay, you got to do it this way. You got to train. You got to take a little time out for yourself. You got to make sure you get your training in. And then I'd go to the Masters in these places, and I'd watch them compete. And they would, they'd make the finals and everything. I'm going, oh, that's a pretty cool gig. I need to follow that.
Yeah, because you would always end up finding there those who you were skiing with, and I can see that.
So it's kind of funny because myself and Javi in a group, we'd be skiing in the Masters, and then I retired, and then Javi was skiing, and Adam was getting out of juniors, but we're looking at Adam going, how is he going to qualify for Open? When you're 18, it seems impossible, and then 19, and then 20. I don't know how many years it took, 2, 3.
That gap's hard from...
But for a little while, you're going, 10-8, 10-9 to 11-2 to 11-4 to, it almost seems impossible. And then the next year, you're that much closer. Then the next year, you're in. And the next year, you're worried about being in. And the next year, you're easily in. So it's... Yeah. But at each stage, you're going, wow, I wonder if this is going to happen. This seems really hard.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And I think it's funny how those steps work, and then you almost take them for granted. Like I remember the first time I made my pro final, I kicked Aaron Larkin out of the final, which, imagine. And the guy shook my hand and basically half destroyed it and said, hey, enjoy today, because from now on you're going to expect to be in the final.
Wow.
Right? And then you're going to expect to be on the podium. And then, like you had that first taste and you really want it again. Which brings me to you, Adam. So you win Worlds. Mm-hmm. The first 6 months, the world champ is about to ski nice. And then it gets to the next year. And then the next year is Worlds. Like,
yep.
How was that?
And there definitely is that little bit of a slump, talking about expectations. I won the Worlds in 2016. I just remember all year going, I'll never do it again. I don't know.
Retire.
You would hit a score and you'd get your Worlds, but it seemed really hard. And I think that's exactly what it is. Was my expectation after that was so high, and I was always thinking about my perfect tournament form and when I was in peak performance, and I never got myself to that spot. And so I don't know. I was struggling. But 20.
Hey Siri, what's up?
Hey Siri. But then 2017 was unreal, and it actually takes me back. So 2015, I won the Pan Am Games in Toronto, as well as the Worlds. And I think that was the year in Masters where I messed up on ski line 5 front. I think if I'm remembering correctly, but anyway, that leads me to 2017. It's World's year. I'm gonna start out strong. It was a World Games year as well in Poland, and so okay, I have the Masters, etc., etc. I'm going through my list, and Poland World Games was behind a Bosch, the wooden, yep. So Janina Bonneman, we ski a lot with here, and she's from Germany. So hey, G, can I tag along and come ski with you in Germany, and I'll cruise along over to Poland with you. Sure. So I took probably a week, went and skied, trained, made sure I was dialed in, get to Poland, the whole thing.
Sorry, you found a Bosch in Germany to train behind?
I did.
Nice.
I did.
I'm sure it wasn't easy.
No. And my face when I saw, like, oh, you've got to be kidding.
Yeah.
But then we get to Poland, and freaking fell on my first trick of my hand run. So I had spent a whole week, done all that training, get to the tournament, I'm geared up, ready to go. First trick,
Bam.
Swimming in. I'm going, oh, okay. Either this is going to make my year of, like, it's telling me what my year is going to be, or this is my chance to learn from it and change it.
So like almost a wake-up call.
Almost a way, absolutely. And from then, ski line 5 front, and it was that same trick as the Master, so that was kind of 2 spots. I was like, not again. So I learned it, and then went to Paris, and had the tournament of my life again, and won the second championship in a row. And I still can't believe that was fun.
Yeah, that was really fun. And it was another close one. Adam was training really good in practice, and skied really good in tournament. But Josh ran 11.440, Adam ran 11.570, and Alexei's ski line back-to-back was just a couple of frames out. So, I mean, that's how close it was again. And
you were top seeding to the finals that time, or?
You were second again, weren't you? I think it was you and then Alexei.
No,
Paris, you were like 7th or 8th.
Yeah, I had a rough prelims and kind of just made it through. That was tough conditions, and it was really cold in the finals, which coming from Florida, flying over there, I'm going, what? Again, what is this? Yeah.
Santa Rosa to the great Paris,
yeah.
you know? So I'm guessing completely different approach. Like you don't know who's coming after you. So what was it, like balls out, or what was the strategy?
Go ahead.
Yeah, a percentage game again. 11.570 seemed like the highest score with the best percentage, the most likely to win. So rather than go 11.870 or something, we're like tough conditions, but I think it's going to take this. So
Right.
at Paris, I think from day one through the whole thing, we're going to run 11.570 in the finals, and if that's good or second or whatever it is, we're going to be happy with it. But that's what we can do right now.
Right.
What I felt was the best decision.
Yeah, clearly it worked.
Yep,
right?
and that was the game plan. Finals went out, and because of the variables, the weather, the factor, I definitely had this more aggressive. If I'm going to do this and get through both runs and trick 11.570, which is kind of picture perfect minus a little bit of garbage at both ends. That's what my runs were worth. That's what the goal was. Let's go out and attack. And sure enough, 11.570. And gosh, I remember getting back to the dock, just going nuts, super excited. And then they released the score, and there was some timing issues, and they said my mode was out of time, right?
Yeah.
And so we went from this super, super high to this just devastating low. And we sat there for, it seemed like, 2 days and 30 minutes, just sitting there going, that doesn't make sense. In your mind, as a skier, as a coach, you kind of have an internal clock of, okay, that might have been close, but that seemed all right. Like we were in it, and the first score that came out was the correct score. And so we're walking back. It was a long, it seemed, quarter-mile kind of thing around the end of the lake. And all of a sudden, people start coming up and, hey, your score changed. You're back in the lead. What? And so we ran around like chickens for forever. And yeah, sure enough, the scores kind of evened out. There was all the good old protests and everything, but came out on top, 11.570. We went, did what we set out to do. Picture perfect. Had family, friends there. Being in France, Patrice came, gave a big hug, knowing all of their history. It was incredible.
Damn. What a moment.
Yeah, I said,
give me chills,
I said for us to win in France, that's doing it the right way.
I guess. And yeah, nice. And so Mexico podium was you Sledge, and do you remember
I
third?
think Josh.
I think Josh.
Josh.
And then I think it was Adam, Josh, and Alexei.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Okay. Yeah, big names.
I'd have to look at that to see, but yeah.
Yeah, because the reason why I'm asking you is that obviously there has been a trend in tricks, particularly in the women's side, but we're seeing in the men's side as well, of, I don't want to say a resurgence of what you, Cory, experienced, but there's a lot of young, like really young kids that are really good really early in tricks. What's going on? What do you guys think?
I think it's a different focus. Like with Adam, the scores were lower and the young kids weren't learning flips as young. I spent a lot more time on traditional movement with Adam as far as rotation and technique and good toes and a lot of toes and a lot of speed and a lot of just traditional skiing. And Adam, when he was 8 and 9, and I didn't feel like he was ready to learn flips. Not he was ready the way he rode a ski, but I don't think he wanted to do it. So I waited a little longer till he was like 11, and then he learned flip. We did about 100 of each, and then a couple months later we learned half twist.
Right.
So, and like little Jake is fantastic. He did the gymnastic thing, and Pato with Sergio have been very dialed in, and he's super talented and consistent and fast. So I think it's just an evolution of the sport. And so what Adam did, what we did with Adam at the time, I don't think was wrong, but I think today what they're doing with young kids are just different.
Yeah.
And I think you can end up in the same place, 12,000 points, but we weren't necessarily trying to be the highest points, the fastest crate, you know what I mean? They're doing it with a different way.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. Like this, you are at the forefront of the sport at your time, but then obviously things change over time, you know, and your ability to adapt, and, you know, obviously you didn't grow up in it, you know, like I'm sure when the flips came about, there were young kids that were doing the flips, and you, Cory, had to learn them already at a later age. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it started in the women, really, you know, like with Anna and Neely, you know, Erica.
No, for sure. And Erica.
Yeah, and it's interesting now you're seeing it a little bit in the men as well.
Yeah.
It's all kind of like snowboarding, surfing, all that. It just seems to be earlier they're learning flips, they're skipping, maybe not skipping, or using tricks, more of the basic tricks. They're either not learning or, you know, focusing in on a lot less, and they're going to ski lines, flips, toe lines, just the higher value. And again, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but they are spending even more time on those bigger tricks, and they learn them just as well versus learning maybe this solid foundation of knowing every trick.
Yeah.
And spending less on those big tricks, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I wonder, because that trend we started seeing in the freestyle sports, as you said, like in the 2000s, right? With like 16-year-old snowboarders, 15-year-old skateboarders, they were just ripping like crazy. And I wonder if it's something like you realize it's possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. And not only is it possible, it's proven to be possible.
Exactly.
And if you want to be best, I mean, that's the path forward to high performances early. And like Adam said, when he was, 9, 10, 11, he was doing wake 7 back-to-back and reverse and all these tricks that really these guys aren't learning. Instead of spending time doing that, they're learning flip and whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, different approach. Yeah, and yet in tricks, it's not a freestyle sport. So, you know, like, yeah, you can learn and obviously you can speak to that. Going just to learn the big tricks isn't the way to become a great trick skier. It's like putting them in a run. Does the run make sense? Does this connection? I would almost venture to say that you spend more time learning how to connect to tricks rather than learning the trick itself, right? So, but yet we see those young kids that are also, you know, pushing it. It's super interesting to me, you know.
Constantly working on transitions, and that's half of it. You could learn the trick 100% of the time, but as soon as you have to put a trick before it or a trick after it, the learning process can start all over again.
Right. Here's something that I'm interested in, and I guess maybe because I've gotten more into it in my own skiing, equipment. right? So as you know, like slalom, like it's a bit of design. Everyone knows everything and nobody knows anything. You know, like let's try to figure it out. What is the role of skis in tricks? What do you think? Like, have you ever gotten like a bad ski and you're like, that's, you know?
I think slalom at the higher speeds, it's so important to have the equipment absolutely perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I think with tricks you have a little bigger ski, you have a much bigger ski, more surface area, much slower speeds, and similar shapes and flexes and everything. So I think the really much better or really much worse, I think they're all better or worse, but in the same general area, easier than a good slalom ski or not a good slalom ski.
Yeah.
Tricks, there's probably less variance, and a lot of it is your style of skiing 100% makes a difference of how aggressive you are, speeds, rope lengths.
So and I think you can go in tricks, you can go from a D3 hard edge trick to replacing it with the next one, and if you feels the same, a little stiffer, a little quicker, whatever, but it's not like two slalom skis are never the same.
Yeah, and I think, and you know it as coaching, obviously, Adam, you got to a very good slalom level, so you know that like skis are different, and then it becomes that sort of mental aspect of like, do I trust my ski? You know, that's why you see a lot of skiers going back to that faithful one from 3 years ago, that maybe it's worse and it's a little soft, but you know that you trust the ski. And I was just curious to hear if that's the same in tricks, but you know, the fact that it isn't, or not as much maybe, well, I mean, I guess it helps. It takes a variable away, right?
Yep. No, definitely not as much. I think it's definitely more consistent, and their ski companies are getting so good at giving out really, really consistent skis. Maybe a little bit in toes every once in a while. Something feels a little different here or there, but it's nothing that you can't adjust. Probably bindings. I'm on rubber Wiley bindings, good old school style there. And if anything, the difference comes from binding stretching out, skiing when it's 60 degrees versus when it's 90 degrees in Florida, and that rubber gets really soft. But the skis are technically really sound and pretty consistent.
Interesting. Sweet. So hold on, I have strangely enough I have some notes. So let me see how we're doing on my notes. Oh, okay. Wow, simple one. PBs. What are your PBs?
I'll let you start. He's gonna enjoy this.
My PB is 11.920, and it would have been over 12 with my normal toe pass, but my knee was a little bit sore, and I was like, I'm just gonna like. So my high score is 11.920.
All right.
And mine is 11.870. And
that's why. There you
way
go.
too close for it not to have switched by now, but. This is the year. I said that last year, but this is truly the year.
This is the year you're gonna go 12.
Yeah, exactly.
There you
12. We're that process is happening.
So yeah, there's that 50 points, which a size light is 40. So you can even claim like he's a trick, above you. It's like 20 points.
No, exactly. It's enough where I have to find some speed, replace a trick. Yeah, but
nice.
It'll be there. And and slalom, like you said, I've gotten through 39 once, had my handfuls of 4s, 5s, but won at 41.
Yeah,
and that was a treat. That's
right foot
that's
forward,
just
right?
Yep, right foot
Nice.
forward.
Nice, good. Yeah, well, I'm just right foot forward. I love that. Well, I mean, surprisingly, we hit a lot of the notes. I never take notes, like I just talk, but like we're doing good. One of the other things I wanted to talk about is Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. This ski school that we're talking from, you were mentioning how a lot of coaches, a lot of athletes, you, Adam, growing up with them, you, Cory, being surrounded by, like, clearly they got attracted by this place. So I'd be curious to hear how this came about, like from you, Wisconsin, moving to Florida.
Yeah, magical place. I actually ran a ski school in Eagle Lake out of my parents' house, then got married and continued. Then I got a lease on 2 lakes just west of Boca in Parkland.
Yeah.
And was there for 2 years. I had a lease. It was in a park system The environmentalists more or less shut us down. Not that we were doing anything really wrong, but it's just park system. And so I knew of this site up here in Santa Rosa Beach, and so I called the owner and said, hey, I'm looking for a place. I didn't want to go back to public waterways, all that kind of stuff. And he said, yeah, come on up. And so I moved up here, started the ski school 28 years later. I started off after, I don't know, probably less than 10 years, but I bought a lake and a half, and then I bought another half a lake.
Yeah.
So that's 2 lakes. Then I just recently bought Lake 3. And it's pretty cool because Santa Rosa Beach is on like an island that's 27 miles long. The widest point is like 3 miles. You have the bay on one side. You have the most beautiful white sand beaches on the other.
Absolutely.
You have a harbor, a little intercoastal, and we're 1 mile from the beach. And when the waves are big, you can sit here at ski school and hear the waves break. And it's a real cool thing to be. You know, you ski and you fall in the water, and then you can hear the waves break, and it's the surf. It's cool.
Yeah, and you have that sort of contrast. I'm guessing, too windy to ski today. Let's go surf. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. So beautiful area.
When you got here 28 years ago, what was the place looking like? Did they already have 1 lake, 2 lakes, homes, no homes?
They were just finishing the 3rd lake. I moved here in January 1st, 92. 91, they had Southern Regionals here. I believe 92 and 3, they had Nationals, and then and then 96, they had Nationals and U.S. Open here.
Mm-hmm. So,
But when I moved here, it was like in the middle of nowhere. It felt like the country, and there was 4 houses. Now there's probably 30 some houses out here, and the whole place has grown up incredibly. So you leave the lakes, and everywhere you go, there's just restaurants, stores.
Biggest tourist spots in the nation. You got Panama City on one side, Destin on the other, Pensacola, huge Air Force bases. Shopping, fishing, anything you could possibly imagine. And it sounds like 91 too, when you moved here, there was you could drive down the road, main highway, and see the beach the whole way.
It was
changed.
Wow,
quite a bit.
So did you have second thoughts?
No, I moved here, and I was told Rose, well, I mean, this is our option right now. Let's go do it for a year or 2, and if we don't like it, or if it doesn't work out, we'll head back to Central Florida. 1 year turns into 2, and yeah, this will be our 29th season.
Wow. So Adam was already born when you moved here?
We moved here January 1st just because I thought we might as well move on the new year. It's keep
things
great
clean,
year. We'll go.
Keep it clean.
So Adam was 3 months old. We moved here on January 1st, 1992.
There you go. Nice.
That's all I remember, waking up every single day, boats running on both sides. My elementary school, I went a little further. It was like 15 minutes to my middle school. High school was 5-7 minutes away. This has been my little community. That's all I've known.
Yeah. Not a bad place to grow up, seems like, no?
Absolutely love it.
Like beach, water skiing, good weather, like not a crowded city where, you can get lost.
And it's all little beach cities and towns all up and down, and really nice little restaurants and really quaint place. Yeah, just beautiful area.
We still get the seasons. We still get the little bit of the cold. A couple, it'll touch on freezing, and not quite as hot as Central Florida, South Florida. So we kind of have that nice little change as well. I absolutely love it.
Nice. And you obviously organized here quite a few tournaments over the years. Any highlights? I mean, obviously, everyone that has been here at your ski school has seen the sign with the world records, and
Yeah. I forget the number exactly, but we have more world records set on our site than any other. We've had a lot of success with world overall champions and world champions at juniors, under 21 open, and we held 2 Pan American championships that were fantastic. This year we're going to hold our first world championships, which is definitely a bucket list. So we're holding under 17 junior world championships 3rd week of August And I have to give Nautique a big shout out and a huge thanks for their support with the ski school and the World Championships. And they're going to help me do everything they can to make sure we have a great event.
Nice. When is that going to be?
Third week of August.
Third week of August. Nice. First Worlds here in Santa Rosa. That's awesome.
Yeah, super excited.
Good. So thank you. They've more done the international event, the Pan Am Champion, but this is the first global event where we're hoping 25 plus countries and all the athletes, and they can come get our taste of paradise and see why we, talk and rant and rave about just always wanting to be home and living our little lifestyle. Now they get really
to see
enjoy it.
Yeah, that's cool. And obviously, I'm glad, as an athlete, as a fan of the sport, that it's happening on a good site. Because you mentioned it, the worlds are not always on a good site, So, and, some people believe it's the biggest tournament in the world. So you work for 2 years, because even the juniors, the under 21s, they're all every other year. And you get to work 2 years for this thing, and you show up and the lake is nice. It's a completely different experience, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, scores should be high. And the good thing is you don't have the odd fall mistake, something because of conditions. When the conditions are good, you can go to a world tournament. You ski good, you don't ski good, but you don't have a lot of excuses of why, besides maybe you didn't ski as good as you can. But a lot of times, where recently we've been to the tougher sites, that's hard, man, because it's a flip of the coin whether you're gonna have better conditions or worse, and it works your way in and then it doesn't.
There's so many variables in an outdoor sport, obviously, with your own equipment, with the boat, and then the wind and rain and rollers, and having it here, being able to limit a few of those, control a few if you can.
And I think that's my personal opinion, but I think a lot of times organizers of tournaments put us in some sites under the excuse of, it's an outdoor sport, it's conditions. But there's conditions and conditions, right? I mean, wind shows up midway through Series 1, you sort of suck it up and say, okay, well, that's what it is. But if it's, a log or, a freaking,
cruise ship goes by. Or,
cruise ship goes by, dishwasher floats in the middle of the lake, what's going on? But no, I'm glad for the sport and for these kids that they'll get to do a Worlds in a solid site,
It's going to be awesome. We're going to, we know what it's capable of, and we're looking forward to PBs and world records and just an amazing competition juniors that we're going to be watching for the next, who knows how many years.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then obviously, I guess the fact that it's a, a fairly touristy area, so accommodations shouldn't be that big of a deal. And,
Yeah, it's really cool. We're doing 4 miles away is a big Hilton on the beach with 3 huge pools and an ice cream shop, and the beach is right behind, and it's going to be just, I think for the people coming, it'll be a fantastic experience.
Yeah, because I think people sometimes forget, it, but this is a family sport. Mm-hmm. So, for every junior that is going to come here, you're going to have 2 extra people that are adults that are obviously involved and bringing in, but one thing you're in Santa Rosa, another thing you are in the middle of a cornfield. And this comes from a guy that has a ski school in a cornfield, So it's cool that it's gonna be a good trip for everyone.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Makes a difference too as an athlete, and like you're saying, family. It's always been good for us when we go to a place to have an escape, to be able to run to your hotel room, cool off, to get some food if you need to, some AC. Versus sometimes some of these sites you're stuck out there and you're just kind of not only dealing with everything, but then you're hot and tired and you just want to, a nice glass of water and
yeah, those tournaments where you're sitting in the car until your turn. There's
exactly.
nothing to do. Yeah, that's probably one of the challenges in in our sport, right? We're all transitioning to smaller lakes, sometimes in the middle of nowhere, and you want the conditions, but it's cool that here you have so much around, and that's awesome. Nervous at all?
Not really. It is.
Okay.
Yes. No, it is stressful. The site, we've held enough tournaments where the lakes are good, the courses are good, the ramp is good, everything. All that is pretty easy for us. It's the opening ceremonies and the banquet, and you have to do all the meals at lunch for officials and athletes. So it's the extra stuff you have to do that I think is just more work.
It's the event
But-
planning that's outside of our comfort zone, and you want people to come and have absolute the best experience. So you set the expectations high, but it's all falling in line. But there's definitely you have to start and give yourself time and work through all of the kinks.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, we did Junior Worlds at our site 10 years ago.
Wow.
And I always say, I mean, I was young, not junior, but like I was helping organizing, and I remember the challenge was the extra stuff, right? The opening, the closing, where are they gonna go? They have to close this street because they're walking, and you know, all these extra stuff
Yep.
that you don't think about in a regular tournament, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, even just parking.
Parking. Yeah, exactly.
And you have no control over the weather. I mean, we could have the most brilliant month of weather, absolutely perfect, and you don't know, the day of the tournament could be a thunderstorm and rain and wind and
Right. And it's and people are gonna have to ski, people are gonna have to park, people are gonna have to eat, you know,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
there's a lot of variables that you have to control.
Um,
Well, guys, I don't know, should we call it? What do you think?
I think so. Thanks so much for your time and the effort and supporting and pushing and helping the sport of water skiing. I think it's great. I think we all need to do it.
Thank you.
Everybody
Appreciate
go out
it.
and buy a new ski boat and a new ski and a new vest, and let's help our boat companies and equipment companies and everything, and let's bring everybody and push everybody along.
Yep.
Yeah.
Keep growing the sport.
Yeah, that's why I started this. You know, like, that's one of the funny things I've been saying with others as well. It's funny how as skiers we have that connection, right? Like, so you meet someone at the supermarket, you find out they're a skier, immediate trust, right? And I think is that the strength of that passion. So naturally you want others to have it.
Yep.
You know, you want others to have it. Anything we didn't touch on, some shout outs, anything you guys wanted to say we didn't say?
I think I'm set.
Yeah, I think I'm
That
good.
was fun. Yeah, no, appreciate it.
Sweet. Should we go for some lunch?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Time.
Sounds good.
It's a fresh group on the beach.
Awesome. Thank you guys, appreciate it. This was fun.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Boom. Wow.
That was
That's awesome.
relatively
Thank
easy,
you.
huh? Or no?
Yeah. What do you think?
No, that was awesome.
No, I think
the
it was
first 10
fantastic.
minutes, I'm like, oh, and then you kind of get into a conversation, everything relaxes. And
Thank you.